We've all seen the adverts for American Eagle jeans starring Sydney Sweeney. It's been driving a certain section of the internet absolutely, well, crazier than they already are. But is that outrage actually legitimate? Does it have coded messages for white supremes or alt-right Yahtzeeism? Well, the simple answer, of course, is no, not at all. What it has got everything to do with, though, is the fact that certain companies are now reverting back to a more normal method of marketing, something which has been appealing to people for decades upon decades. And that means for these insane group that they're losing control, they're losing power, and they're losing the fact to push the narrative. And that is what's driving them insane. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. As I just mentioned in the intro, we've all seen the Sydney Sweeney adverts where she's dressed up in a pair of dad jeans, but for some reason, none of us seem to be bothered by that in the slightest.
But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
You see what I did there, right?
Yes, Sydney. I see exactly what you did there. Now, this marketing campaign with Sydney Sweeney has seen the stock rise nearly 30% in the past month. And is it because the advert is so revolutionary? No. The advert itself, and I say this with all respect to American Eagle, is very basic indeed. It's just doing what marketing should be doing, which is appealing to people by using the method of sex sells. Remember that? Now, sex sells, just in case you didn't know, uses the marketing strategy of sex appeal to sell an item. And it's something which was used for decades upon decades to great success. Hell, back in my day, these adverts were getting pretty darn risque.
Only the crumbliest, flakiest chocolate.
This is a good advert. I don't know about you guys, but I really feel the need to have my cocks to have some chocolate. To have some chocolate.
Excuse me, do you do pot noodle? Pot noodle. Pot noodle. Do you do pot noodle?
Round the back in 2 minutes.
That felt so wrong and yet it felt so right.
Pot noodle, the slag of all snacks.
No, remember fun? Yeah, those were good times when, we could actually laugh at stuff. Unfortunately, though, those flake adverts were discontinued. Not because of the riskiness of them. No, the immigration in the UK just got out of hand and there were just too many rape gangs hanging around the sets. Sorry, hold on, folks. I got a knock at the door. BRB.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the Electronic Communications Network. I'm just
What?
127 of the Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say that it may harm your defence if you do not mention one question, something which you later are in court.
12 hours later.
Sorry about that, folks. I had to post my bail, but I had a little bit of trouble with my Visa and MasterCards. But don't worry, ladies. Not everything catered towards what the kids would say, the male gaze. That's Gaze, not... Anyway, there was also adverts for the ladies. Yeah, she does. Right down a gullet, the dirty tart. Sorry, I got a wee bit carried away there. My apologies. let's just say that even the biggest brainlets in the world can work out why people would be attracted to these types of commercials. Sex appeal and humor are two very big weapons to have in your marketing arsenal. But somewhere along the way in the recent past, adverts stopped doing that. And in actual fact, they started to try and do what every woke piece of crap does: lecture and preach to you. And it was no longer, hey, we would love you to be our customer, we'd love you to buy our product. It suddenly turned into, are you good enough to buy from us? Which, by the way, is probably the worst marketing that you could ever do for your product, as these companies found out.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
Remember this advert? Believe it or not, it came out 6 years ago now.
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
This was such a bizarre marketing campaign from Gillette, considering the vast majority of their customers were actually men, and they suddenly wanted to attack them, belittle them, and drag them into the Me Too movement, which has got absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with shaving products.
To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Anybody with a modicum of intelligence could see how virtue signally this advert was. Why shouldn't that guy approach the woman? He's got every right to ask her out on a date. Hell, she could have turned around and said, oh, yeah, I've been walking past your building every day for the past month, hoping that you'd ask me. She could turn around and go, sorry, I've got a boyfriend. At least he finds out, what, we're not allowed to approach women anymore? And this was so bizarre because remember, once upon a time, Gillette used to market itself as a masculine company. But now masculinity was toxic. The buzz phrase of a few years ago. And this proved to be very costly indeed for Gillette because on the 30th of July 2019, Procter & Gamble wrote down the value of the company to the tune of $8 billion. And even now in 2025, Gillette have not substantially recovered at all. In actual fact, they used to have a 70% market share, but today that's now less than 50%. Congratulations on your marketing campaign, because when I used to do sales and marketing, I learned something very quickly. It's very, very difficult indeed to gain a customer, but my God, it's very easy to lose one. And Gillette found that out the hard way when they tried to lecture them.
Bud Light is trying to regain its spot as America's top-selling beer after sales dropped 23% last month compared to the same period last year. Analysts blame the plunge on a Bud Light ad posted on social media by a transgender TikTok star.
It's now been over 2 years since the Bud Light debacle, at least a debacle for that company, who decided to hire Dylan Mulvaney to sell Bud Light. Bud Light, the biggest selling beer in America. Bud Light that was bought by the regular working man. Dylan Mulvaney. Work it out, because I can't.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too.
Look, you don't even have to have any knowledge of sales and marketing to understand that this would be an absolute mitigated disaster for the company. But it's not our problem to have. And therefore, we're quite happy to watch companies burn themselves down with this absolute lack of awareness of who their customers actually are and how to connect with them. And it also showed how complete and utterly out of touch marketing had now become with its legitimate audiences. It'll come as absolutely no surprise to anybody that Anheuser-Busch, who's the parent company of Bud Light, decided to put these executives that were responsible for this campaign on leave. And just a few months later, it was actually announced that they were fired from the company. I know, we're all in shock here. This seemed to become a race to the bottom really quickly. Who could tank their company in the quickest amount of time possible? And even after the Bud Light debacle, Miller said, hey, do you know what? We'd like to get into some of that bankruptcy ourselves.
Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever.
Only potentially, because we don't have all the evidence to support this, that it was a household chore, like cooking and cleaning. It's like patting yourself on the back for doing the vacuuming or the dusting or the dirty dishes. It's a weird brag.
From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing.
Wow, this passive-aggressive patronizing is going to go down really well with the current day predominantly male audience, I'm sure.
Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis.
They weren't paying homage to women, you stupid dopey cow. It's called marketing. What they were doing was appealing to their target audience by having an attractive woman with the beer, giving the illusion that if you drink the beer, that you could get one of these beautiful women. Remember the beginning of the video where I talked about sex sells and how... This is such a bizarre time that we live in, and this type of advert is actually called anti-marketing. It's a bizarre form of marketing that actually attacks its main demographic in an effort to capture, well, no actual replacement for them. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Oh, wait, no. We have seen, and it doesn't, you lose money in the billions. Calvin Klein wanted to get in on some of this market loss as well. And on Mother's Day in 2022, they decided to release an advert with a Trans Am. No. Trans man, not Trans Am. Anyway, a pregnant trans man as well on Mother's Day. Exceedingly tasteful stuff. In actual fact, they just couldn't help themselves. They just released advert after advert with things like that in them. And they thought that this was going to appeal to the regular Joe. They thought that this was what people would look at and aspire to. No, this is called your marketing team is fucking retarded. This is what it's called. Victoria's Secret's known for their naughty underwear, for the spicy lingerie that the ladies could wear in the boudoir, decided to launch their own campaign that would destroy every male erection possible. Dove Soap decided to hire an activist for their campaign. And when I think of soap, I think cleanliness. I think freshness, you know? I can smell that fucking picture and it stinks. Anti-marketing. Marketing that's designed to actually run off your target audience and replace it with nothing. And the reason why I've used all of those companies as an example is that all of those companies have done a 180 on their commercials. They're now all advertising in a more classic way, a way that actually would appeal to their target demographic. at least the ones which have decided to stay with the brand or return to the brand. Because the amount of customers that they lost, there is a lot of them that they will never get back. And that leads us, of course, to Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle. No, 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 no. Is what Jaguar said to the ad agency that was responsible for that absolute piece of shite that saw sales in April of this year drop by 97.5% for the company. I wonder why. Jaguar, a bunch of gay people, men in dresses. Can we please get to Sydney Sweeney, for the love of God? And it's exceedingly unfortunate that Jag rhymes with fat.
Sydney Sweeney has canes.
Yes, she has, and I'd love to be in them, but that's not important right now. What is important is that American Eagle have just done a classical advert here. There's a play on words. She's an attractive woman. Jeans. She's wearing jeans. It's an easy association to make. It's been done many times before in many other adverts. Also, it's an attractive woman that's meant to appeal to people to say, hey, let's go buy some jeans. And has it worked? Well, the quick answer is yes, this has been a very successful ad campaign for American Eagle. They've actually sold out of certain lines. I no doubt imagine they will get them back in eventually. And as we saw earlier in the video, of course, the stock price has also gone up. As mentioned before, it's gone up in the last month by nearly 30%. And what is really important about that is if we look at the last 6 months of trading, because it's actually down nearly 18%. So this ad campaign has completely turned around the fortunes of the company, and it's looking to get it back on track. If we look at the last year, you can see that American Eagle has been dropping off and it has been losing a lot of its share in the marketplace. But this ad campaign has been reviving that. And that can only be a positive thing. The company identified that they were losing business, came up with a marketing strategy of getting a hot property, which was Sydney Sweeney, literally and figuratively, placing her in their ad campaign, making her do sexy stuff or drive fun cars, which I believe is actually owned by her, by the way. And hey presto, it's attracted an audience that's gone out, bought them, and risen the stock price of the company. Everybody's happy. Of course they're not. The woke people are absolutely fucking livid because this is the second coming of Hitler, in their opinion.
I will be the friend that's too woke because those Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads are weird. Like fascist weird. Like Nazi propaganda weird.
Yep, you heard it from this rancid pig itself that this advert is actually fascism and Nazi propaganda. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that she's jealous of Sydney Sweeney because she is attractive and got nice physique and is successful and, well, basically all the things that this thing would never ever be in their life.
The Sydney Sweeney ad, have you seen it?
Oh, yes, I have.
What the hell is even that?
What are your thoughts?
Trying to calm myself, but that would, Sydney Sweeney has good really? Like, the eugenics in that.
The eugenics wars I mean, I thought, it was disgusting. I think it's just showing what kind of country we're turning into. It's white supremacy at the end of the day. That's what this ad is representing.
I didn't see it, but I have heard quite a bit about it. I think it's absolutely unacceptable.
Wait a minute.
I didn't see it. I think it's absolutely unacceptable. Specifically because that's the world that we've created, that we've grown up in. And so by specifically using a white person, it completely disregards everything that we've spent the last centuries working towards. And so that just it rubs us the wrong way.
Good. Glad to hear it, you stupid bint. You see, it's called marketing. It's called actually trying to sell some products. And as you can probably gather from that hive mind bunch of feminist weirdos, it's not about the jeans and the advert. It's about the fact that Sydney Sweeney is a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, and that goes against exactly what they've been trying to push with all of this woke advertising. They have the same opinions as the marketing companies that have been pushing out all this crap, which is losing companies literal billions of dollars. And that's why they're mad. Traditional marketing is there to actually sell. They're not interested in selling anything other than their ideology. And that's why they're mad. It's never been about Dove soap. It's never been about Miller or Bud Light or a Jaguar car. Lord knows they can't afford one. They're all on fucking welfare. Or Gillette razors, or whatever the product might be that wanted to drive its company into corporate suicide club. It's always been about the message, and that's why these marketing firms that have come in, they're not looking to sell the product for the company that they're working for. They're looking to push and sell the ideology. And just because companies now are like, we cannot sustain this. If we continue to do this, we will go out of business. And therefore, they have to re-strategize to actually sell fucking products. It's driven these people insane because they have once again lost another forum in their cultural battle. And it's also about the perception of power and control, because when your ideology is dominating, you feel the rub on yourself and you feel as if you're doing something and you're that special snowflake because your narcissism demands it. But when, of course, you keep conceding ground, then you start to, well, as we've seen in this case, go absolutely chicken oriental and start to conflate jeans with bloody fascism and bloody Nazis. But the best thing for me is it actually exposes them. It exposes their ideology. We can really see who they truly are. They're not tolerant. They're not accepting. They're nothing like that at all. It, to me, exposes them for what they are, which is racists. Accuse your enemy of that which you are doing. And that's why they use such hyperbolic language like Nazi or fascism or white supremacy or whatever nonsense it may be, is because they don't actually have a legitimate argument as to why a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl can't just do an advert because she's attractive and that's her genetic makeup and it's a good play on words, genes and jeans. No, they got to try and turn it into something which is what they want it to always be about. And that's their gender politics, their intersectional politics, their ideology. When maybe, just maybe, a company just wants to sell some product. Woke marketing, anti-marketing, it has to die if the company is to survive, because its intention is never to sell something. Its intention is to actually lose the current target audience and not replace it with another audience, because the audience that they want to pander to with their messages are never going to buy that product anyway. So if a company wants to survive, it has to ditch that and actually return back to a targeted campaign that will look at who their target audience is and then try to sell to them. A lot of damage has been made to a lot of companies because they decided to go down this route, and it's their own fucking fault, and I have absolutely zero sympathy for them. But this is why the trend of woke marketing is dying, and it's dying quickly. Because if that doesn't, it's the company that will. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now. Oh no. Goodbye, Blue.